Hey everyone, welcome to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil Laird.
Jaime Fuego here.
And we are back to do a spoilers review or discussion of Alien Covenant. Now, we just got done doing our live, regular, non-spoiler review of the movie.
Tried to make a non-spoiler.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you guys, those of you that were able to tune in and watch it. We appreciate it, but yeah, now we are here to talk about the actual spoilers of the movie. So this is probably going to be coming out a good deal in advance of the actual release, because a lot of people, yeah, probably, because a lot of people do like to get spoiled, and you know, why not? So we have the information. Why not put it out there? But
if you're interested, I guess, or if you saw an early screening, or have already read another person or watched, you know.
And some people just don't care. They like being spoiled. So,
I'm
anyway,
not one of them.
That is what we're going to be doing. So, without further ado, let's jump into it. Now, I think the best way to do this would be sort of a chronological representation. Yeah. So go ahead, Fuego.
Yeah. The coolest thing is that this actually starts with a little bit of a prequel to the previous Ridley Scott film Prometheus. So you get to see when David is initially born, a young Guy Pearce, which is very cool. I didn't even realize that was Guy Pearce in the original Prometheus.
Because he was uncredited.
Until I was rewatching. Well, he was in some of the promotional material.
Oh, was he really?
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, but he wasn't like a big build person or anything, because he had so much prosthetic makeup and stuff on him. He was the old...
he was Wayland.
Wayland, yes, exactly. But obviously not the same Wayland that we saw in the AVP movie, which was...
Lance Henriksen.
Yes, exactly. Sorry. Exactly. Yeah, so it's a very poignant scene because of the fact that it's like a human for the first time birthing a cybernetic, like living, like full-on being that appears just like us. They don't give us any further details than synthetic, And so, it was... kind of sad and strange, and
that was one of those elements, like from Prometheus, that you were talking about.
Prometheus, and I loved the beginning of this movie. The opening scene is fantastic.
Yeah, and it actually is very Ridley Scott in its framing and direction. Honestly, it was very awesome.
And an interesting contrast to the opening of Prometheus, where it started out so viscerally with the creation of life on Earth and drinking down the stuff and just blowing himself up to go down into the water and everything. So it was almost like the other side of the yin-yang, like the calm creation as opposed to like a violent creation of black like we saw in Prometheus. This was the white creation of, man creating something on par with himself. And that was kind of what the theme of Prometheus was, is them, because when they made the DNA, we're actually probably going to spoil Prometheus and Alien Covenant in this, because they tie in a ton together, right? So yeah, I thought it was a cool just counterbalance of themes.
Well, and it was interesting because they were talking about, creator, because Guy Pearce's character is searching for the creator of the human race to get answers, and
he wants more than answers.
Michael Fassbender is immediately like, well, you're my creator, and you can give me answers, and like they're going back and forth and stuff like that. So
he's immediately looking, which is a cool aspect about his type of cybernetic or whatever. Because they say there's many series, as we know in the Alien series. There's tons of different cyborgs, but...
So then we flash forward to 10 years after Prometheus, where we see Walter, which is a new version of the David synthetic.
Similar series, but...
Yes, exactly. Similar series, but new generation with a couple of new surprises.
And some upgrades.
As we find out.
Yes, we do. They play some plot pertinence.
Yes, exactly. So we start off with him tending to his crew aboard the Covenant.
Yeah.
And as he's doing so, he launches these big sort of not shield, but they're big satellite-like ribbons, golden ribbons, in order to absorb solar energy in order to recharge the ship. And what they don't expect is there's a solar flare, and it happens so fast that
a very strangely opportune solar flare, no less.
Well, it happens so fast that Walter can't do anything about it, and it rattles the ship, and he has to emergency awake everyone. And when he does, they all, sort of, that's when we get to meet the characters. But the first spoiler thing I want to talk about is the fact
saw in
that
the prologue.
well, not really. Someone we saw in the prologue.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said something we saw in the prologue. No, someone.
We saw in the prologue.
We saw James Franco in the prologue, thinking, "Oh man, I wonder how long he's gonna last." Well, let me tell you, you barely even see him.
There's a reason they didn't bill him on this.
Yeah, because he.
So why was he in this?
Yeah, he was essentially in. He was in his pod, and everyone gets emergency awoken, except his pod jams, and there's some sort of malfunction inside where oxygen gets pumped in, or extra oxygen, and then there's a spark, and he just goes up in flames in the pod, while he's actually Daniels' husband.
That is the next spoiler, is that Watterson and the chick from, we most recently saw her in Fantastic Beasts, she was great in that, actually. I thought she had that sexy short haircut, and she acted tremendously in the period era, and in this, way past our period era. I thought she showed her versatility.
But right off the bat, she had to watch James Franco, her husband, burn alive in front of her.
So she showed her chops right off the bat.
Right off the bat, and to me, I was immediately invested in the crew. It was like, oh my God, this is horrible. These poor people. It's so interesting because it didn't take the time to have the whole crew slowly wake up and then slowly get to know each other, and then all this stuff.
That's what I was making the Alien 3 comparison.
Well, a little bit.
The violent trouble in space and people dying.
Well, see, my Alien 3 comparison was the whole...
it comes later.
Yeah, it was, something that happened at the beginning of Alien 3 that not a lot of people liked. So, the sort of off-camera aspect of some things.
Oh, okay.
But nonetheless, I don't know. I thought that this particular part was... What was I even saying? Hang on.
Sorry.
What were we talking about?
I totally threw you off. We were still at the very beginning of the film. We're at Franco
up,
burning up, and
okay. So all right. So let me take a pause. So from there, it's immediately we're into the drama of the situation where the crew is dealing with the death of their captain. And so the new captain, played by the guy you don't like...
I love him as an actor, but I didn't think Billy Crudup... I mean, maybe this is just the way he was written, so I didn't like it, but he was so timid and unsure of himself about very suddenly assuming a command he was not properly prepared for.
Because he was a man of faith, and so he didn't think that anyone on the ship would follow him. Very similar to Numi Rapus.
Yeah. Did you notice that too, with the cross and in Prometheus? I didn't really notice that the first
There's always a character of faith, so
I'm
sure there's going to be a character of faith in the next movie as well.
Yeah, probably, but I guess in Alien 3, I mean, was there one in Resurrection? I mean, you had Charles S. Dutton in Alien 3, and he did a hell of a job with all those.
Yeah, I don't know in Resurrection, not really much.
Yeah,
there wasn't much good stuff at all in Alien Resurrection. But
very few bits, but yet this upheld the gore and some of the crazy, more violent stuff that we saw in later incarnations, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we saw a lot of really cool gore in this movie, which we'll definitely get to. Yeah, exactly.
I just want to jump the gun because for me that was some of the best stuff in the entire film.
Well, it was, and then so what's interesting is the crew decides to go investigate this signal that they get when they're repairing the ship after the damaging solar flare, and they get this barely discernible message that Tennessee, played by Danny McBride, deciphers as "Take Me Home, Country Road," and
to the place I was born.
Yeah, exactly. And so they're like, "Well, we got to go investigate it." And that's one of the big conflicts, is because Daniels' character tries to warn the new captain and say, "No, look, we might be a 7-year sleep away from our goal, but whatever 6, Omega 6 or something like that." That's the planet we're dispatched to go colonize. Let's just go there. This planet appeared out of nowhere. We don't need to do this. And he's like, no, this might be a good place for us. Let's just go check it out. Obviously, that person's human.
And that is a beat that just bugged me because it's the same beat we've seen in the original Alien, where Ripley initially combats a little bit with the captain, where she also combats with the Sarge and aliens, and where, I mean...
At least they didn't have a dog or a cat in this.
Yeah, it's true. That would have been really sad if we saw, Alien 3, dude, that hits me every time, where the dog alien...
Well, not just...
horrible.
I'm just
it was
saying,
originally supposed to be an ox.
There was the cat in the first one. And
True, yeah, Mimsy, or whatever the hell it was.
Jonesy,
yeah, that's right.
But anyway, so what's next on the story that we could spoil?
Okay, so they.
Oh well, I guess.
Well, yeah. Well, they alter their trajectory and their course, and they are originally going to a totally different planet, which they have sought out as a colonization planet because mankind, even though they don't talk really in depth about it, is presumably dying if they're doing this sort of colonization.
Exactly.
Thing. Yeah, and so
when they go to this new planet,
which Billy Crudup's whiny ass wants to go to, which is one of the things that bugged me so much because I felt like he was acting off cast. But to continue with
half
what's going
the
on,
crew remains outside of the actual ionosphere or whatever because it's a crazy ionosphere. Danny McBride says at one point,
and that's not even including all the frozen colonists that are.
Well, that's the weird thing when they
right?
dispatch a crew that drops down to the surface and they show up and there's all these dead bodies that are essentially, it looks like almost sort of what happened with that the volcano where you found
Dante's Peak?
No, no. No, it wasn't. I don't think it was Mount St. Helena. It wasn't Mount St. Helens. No, it was Pompeii. Yes,
yeah.
where they were all frozen in place, right? All of their dust and ash, as it were.
And this is presumably on the engineer's planet.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Presumably, and which we got to see in the prologue. We saw them arrive, so that was interesting how it tied in. But
one of the few times when you should watch the prologues is in the case of this movie, because we were thinking, oh, they'll show bits in the film, but I don't think either the initial talk with Franco or the bit with
Nope.
them showing the aftermath of what happened after David and
Numi.
Shaw. Numi, Shaw, that's right. Yeah. I was trying to remember her in character name. So Shaw and David, man, she repaired him, and she didn't really get the best payback for trying to help him. We will eventually get to that.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, next up is the fact so the crew investigates and they run across David. He saves them eventually, at one point when the neomorphs attack.
No, and that's after they go breathing in the spores and pissing me off with one of the dumbest parts in the entire movie.
Which they show in the trailer. They show someone stepping on these black spores in one point, and then there was another person that was even dumber.
A cigarette, and he's inhaling just dust and stomping on stuff. And I don't know. I would think that if these were first and foremost Wayland people, that they would have known a little bit more, but maybe they just had one of the synthetics on there and they were just colonists.
No, yeah, they didn't know what happened to Prometheus. Prometheus disappeared.
True.
So
they seemed way less prepared and professional about the way they were charting this planet, which is one of the things that ticked me off. But you're just letting me know, because I was really hard on this in the live stream initially. Maybe they were just more naive colonists, as opposed to
they weren't actual scientific explorers
and were properly prepared to go at this planet that hit them. Now, this is why I told you I think I need to see it again. But no, this is a really key point, because that bit just ticked me off in the trailer, and then when they expounded upon it in this, there's also a character who dies in the trailer, which really ticked me off that we were spoiled.
Who?
You know who it is.
Go ahead.
Well, we're eventually going to get to it, because remember, it happens way later.
All right, so the next thing we need to spoil
then
is the fact that we find out quickly when they're investigating that David is a little bit still off his rocker.
Oh, yeah.
After he and Walter interact with each other, and
well, even as he showed before with doing weird experiments on all the stuff that he brought along with him, and.
Yeah,
he tried to kill Numi's husband in the first one, remember?
Yeah, and he was birthing neomorphs and doing experiments on them and stuff. And that's the thing. At one point we find out that Numi did not, in fact, die in the crash, like David says.
As he told everybody.
He killed Shaw, and not only that, but literally they find her dissected body.
But it was like xeno experimentation stuff.
It was.
She
was laying there, but her stomach and insides were splayed open, and you could see. Like he had dissected her like a frog in science class.
Ugh,
like it's crazy, and I was like, oh wow! Like oh, there's Numi Rapus or Rapus, whatever, right there. Like, holy crap,
Jeez.
that was insane. So, and then you find out at the same time that the prologue leads right into, you see the shot where their ship stops over the engineer's planet, only we didn't know it was actually the engineer's planet in the prologue.
Yeah, because this is a flashback bit.
But we find out that it was the engineer's planet. All the engineers are gathered up underneath, and David launches all of the pods from Prometheus that he steals,
which were meant for Earth.
Exactly, and he kills all of the engineers in one fell swoop in that Pompeii-ish like scene. Yeah,
it's honestly the one time where, since I had problems with some of the xenomorph effects in the CGI, the decomposition of all of the engineers' main home world. That was effed up, and that looked just beautifully done, and it really made you just kind of think, and cyclical, deeper themes, which the only times we saw those remnants of the story from Prometheus were when I felt that way. Everything else I was kind of indifferent to, unfortunately.
Well, so basically, just as this is going on, we also see that the people that inhaled the spores are actually, the spores turn very rapidly into neomorph bursters. Yeah. One is a back burster, and the other ends up being a mouth burster, which was awesome. Like there, so the back burster you see in the trailer.
We do.
But the other guy, the one that
is good.
Yeah, the one that it is absolutely.
Yeah, it was damn good.
Because there's another casualty in that
which
scene.
You also mentioned. Was it in this review or the previous one? It was like the straight up werewolf attack.
Oh yeah. Well, not that.
No.
Not the small neomorph. No, okay. I was talking about the other one where the neomorph chomps right here and like takes chunks out of the shoulder. Yeah, okay. That was awesome. But anyway, so they the backburster comes out, traps another crew member in there, and the little tiny neomorph like gnaws her face off and stuff. That was really awesome. But
I was mad she didn't fight back as much though. I was like,
but the other one bursts out of the dude's mouth and like shoots out and then scuttles off or whatever.
Which was kind of reminiscent of the opposite of Prometheus, where the thing went down the dude's throat.
Right.
Remember, after it broke into it, and that's why there was some creature stuff. I know it was kind of minimal, which is why I feel like they upped the quotient in this one and got more creaturific and crazy and violent, but
there was a lot more fodder too.
There was.
But I enjoyed that. I like that. So the neomorphs are on the loose, and the first time they resurface is the time that I was talking about in the non-spoiler live review, where it was the posturing of the neomorphs that was scary, because the neomorph, it would stand totally straight and tall, and like it's got that weird messed up conical head, and that messed up jaw, and it's just like, and it's really, really quiet.
And yet David's interaction with it was so good.
Yeah, because David
is
like putting it under his control.
Yeah, because he's been basically breeding and cultivating all the different spores, and he just didn't. One thing that he mentioned, with Rooney's character, with Ms. Dr. Shaw, they were like, I just needed more of her. I needed more to experiment upon, and he couldn't really cultivate these like embryonic
without human hosts.
Yeah, exactly. Without any type of host. I mean, if there's no oxen or dogs or humans or whatever the hell you may see, which I think, best of my knowledge, except for some of the Dark Horse comics, that's all we've seen gestate within. But dude, they have had like bull aliens and like huge crazy things. And also remember the one that you liked that had the the artistry from that one guy where it was like the huge ginormous aliens who were chomping down.
Yeah, of course.
So the biology alters.
Yeah,
sorry, that was a tangent. My bad.
But yeah. So, what's next then on the docket after that?
Oh well, next, I mean, they were basically at that point where Crudup, gets to his befalling, which is what I was so pissed about seeing in the trailers, is that they showed the egg opening up and jumping right on the presumed captain's face, and they showed that in multiple trailers. And so even though they allowed him to live till the third act, I still felt very I don't know, they should have kept that one on their wraps, because if he is the presumed leader, even if he's a timid leader and there's problems with him and headbutting with him and Watterson, who was the Ripley
I
type
thought it was
in this.
appropriate. I mean, I was ready for him to go at that point.
I was too, because
And
they
it was
wrote
cool
him so
because-
poorly, but
Well,
you know, the
but
fact that you knew he was gonna go.
It was a good
sucked.
story point because David betrayed him. Like he had. That's the thing. It actually bridges well because the neomorph
very
is standing up
trusting of
straight
somebody
and
was
he
trying to
killed
kill him.
the neomorph kills the woman. And then David's got him under his control or whatever, and so the captain kills the neomorph, and David screams.
And then he suddenly doesn't think David's going to betray him. That was what pissed me off so much about it. You know, he's like, "Oh, I just ticked off this robot, and now I'm going to listen to him and think."
Yeah,
he's
but
not
he
gonna
doesn't.
fucking
He's
hurt
not
me.
thinking ticked off robot.
Yeah.
His experience with robots are Walter, and Walter that brand doesn't have emotional backlash and betrayal.
It's a more docile.
So it makes sense that he would actually follow David
human,
down
yeah.
because he's like, oh, it's just another one of those things. It's not gonna. It doesn't have ulterior motives.
I didn't
But
think that
David
he-
instead makes him follow him down
yeah,
and
I guess.
shows that he in fact has done his experimentation, and David creates the very first set of xenomorph eggs.
The very first one.
Face hugger eggs, I should say.
And also, you know, the first one that gestates within somebody who happens to be, oh, Captain, my Captain, Mr. Yeah, exactly. What up, Robber's Hole? And it still looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know, I gotta say, I'm not gonna completely hate on the design because it was all CGI. I don't think there was any.
I thought it looked really cool
in a suit. It looked pretty.
I liked
good.
that it could move around too. Like
was
they
the
did
movement
more
where-
with it.
It was the movement where they lost me for the close-ups with the drooling and the double mouth and stuff because.
Yeah, but they have to be able to have it move around though. Like that's. You can't just expect them to do that cheating stuff over and over again. Like it has to actually look like it's moving.
I know, and I can't help the way that I feel though, which is what sucks about it. It just took me out a little bit.
See, and if you can separate from that, if you guys can
check your
realize
rating at the door, which I shouldn't have realized.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys can realize that, yeah, they're not going to ever be able to get a xenomorph human, a human in a xenomorph costume to look like a beast scampering across walls. If you can accept that and just appreciate it for what it is, this is an excellent representation of what an alien can be scare-wise with CG effects without being Alien 3. So I don't know. I really thought they did a good job.
Yeah.
So yeah. Next up, what's the following spoiler? Because we should probably rush through a little more.
Oh yeah. I mean, as we get to the end, and pretty much the entirety of the crew is done after McBride and the other people who were on the ship, as they were going to investigate down on the bottom, they're swooping in despite the storms, which is another thing. They got to go through storms on the planet to rescue
which
people,
didn't really
like
come
we
to
saw
anything
in
because they made
Aliens,
such
you
a
know?
big deal of the storm, and they didn't even have a scene where they almost didn't make it through.
Easily flew through it and stuff. So I mean,
I'll bet that might be a deleted scene.
Yeah, maybe, but you know, lots of similar beats, which I had a problem with story-wise, but you know, still decently executed. And as they rescue people from the planet, they have a xenomorph, which you saw in the trailers, attack the xenomorph. I guess at this point, the one that jumped out of Crudup, but then. There was another one that jumped out of, or at least like there was one other character that got hit up as they were all trying to escape, if I remember. I mean, dude got burned on the side of the face, which was Demian Barkier or you know something, and he ends up getting back up to the ship. But wasn't there another character that got totally swooped and attacked, and there could have been another one on the planet? I don't know. I can't completely recall.
I can't recall at that point.
But yeah, bottom line, they get back up to the ship after relinquishing the one that you see in the trailer, like smashing glass and everything, and he gets crushed in like one of the bulldozer hand cranks or something.
Yeah, that was actually really cool.
That was a very solid shot.
But again, even that was an homage to Aliens when she brings out the big crane with the big claw.
Similar beats.
But anyway, she catches the alien in this, and she somehow winds up outside of the control box and almost like face to face with the aliens, and then she grabs the control button again and it squishes the alien entirely and sending acid spraying everywhere, which is really cool.
And yet I didn't even think Watterson's character was like controlling it. I thought it was somebody inside who was doing it.
No, it was her.
Really?
Yeah, she had
even though she was like dangling on the thing. Okay.
She reached and grabbed it. Yeah.
So, and then the airlock sequence at the end, obviously, was another nod to both of the first two films. And so this is where non-original beats just started to bug me, especially as I got near the back half of the film. But there was still enough good where I can't talk every bit of smack. But there was one that...
Again, as the spoiler episode, it's a bummer. The alien gets shot out the airlock, just like it did in Aliens and Alien.
Yeah, and also the fact that we both kind of saw coming the cyborg synthetic switch, which... tried to be...
That's right. They tried to pull a Shyamalanian twist by having David replace Walter, but it was really obvious.
Supremely obvious, to the point where you were just waiting for it to happen, and that to be the big twist, and sure enough, that was the big twist at the end of the movie. So,
but you know, at least even having known the big twist, it was cool to see how it was executed,
it was
and
well
to
done.
see that David, essentially the cyborg or the synthetic from Prometheus, is going to be the overall baddie of the Prometheus trilogy.
Yeah,
like that's really interesting.
Which
to
is
me.
the Alien pre-trilogy or whatever the hell you want to classify it as. So.
Depending on if it's a trilogy or a quadrilogy or whatever it is.
Well, they're still saying there's going to be 2 more films after this one, which would technically be a quadrilogy, another quadrilogy. Ridley Scott, man, I know you like money, but you're really going for it, buddy. I'm very curious, though, because in 14 months from this filming, which is in May of 2017, we are going to see the next... The next sequel start to go through the meat grinder of sorts, or acidic bath. Or
I'm excited to see more. I'm excited to see more. Surprisingly,
I am too. Yeah. Dude, this was not bad. I still enjoyed this more than Predators. I enjoyed it more than both AVP movies. But I thought that Prometheus was significantly superior, personally.
And then finally, we see that David not only dispatches with the crew, the remaining crew.
Very small amount left at that point.
Exactly. But he also... one of the interesting things I saw them introduce was these embryos. Human embryos. That's how they birth new humans for colonists.
Yep.
And then you see David show up with little tiny face hugger embryos that he's putting in along with it.
He puts 2 of them in there, and he's just like, yep. And
then he wanders through the colonist corridor with all the 2,000 plus colonists for him to play with.
But even cooler, what we assume is going to happen in the 3rd film in this quadrilogy or whatever the hell you want to call it, is the fact that he resets the course to the planet they were originally going to before stopping off for this little, digression. And it's that planet they were originally supposed to colonize, and we have aliens and we have all kinds of people. So we have that villainous bastard, that android bastard.
I'm excited to see where it goes, but I think that's going to do it for our spoiler review of Alien Covenant, you guys.
I have to say, it was kind of funny seeing a nasty android in the first one, and then a nicer one in the second one, a la Bishop. Yeah. Another borrowed bit. But I loved Fassbender. He was my MVP in this movie, even though, Shizzle, man. Numi would have been mine in the previous one, but for this, playing dual roles, he was the one I was most impressed with, even if the script left a bit to be desired. Dizam. Fassbender was bomb.
He did a really good job. Yeah. So, thanks very much for watching, you guys. Let us know in the comments below if you've already seen it, what you thought of it, and what you agree or disagree with. Thanks again for watching. I've been Cecil Laird.
Gracias, Jaime Fuego.
And remember, stay scared.